Hello, you're listening to the IoT Weekly Podcast. Hello, and welcome to episode number 25 of the IoT Weekly Podcast, brought to you by Gearforge Software. My name is Matthew, and I'm joined by my co-hosts and good friends, Cliff and Zeineb. Hey, guys.
Hey, Matthew.
How's it going?
Good.
Friday.
It is Friday. Absolutely gorgeous. And Zeineb is joining us from, where are you at, Zeineb?
I'm from Tunisia right now.
That's
amazing.
Yeah.
World traveler.
Yes.
So cool.
I'd say I'm just back home.
Is this just
I'm just back home.
nice? So this is a global podcast, Matthew.
It truly is. So proud that it is. Yes.
It's growing up so nicely.
It's 25.
Yes.
Yeah. Great. So, Mr. Cliff, what have you been up to this week?
It has been just a packed week, Matthew. So this week has been learning all about boat motors. Apparently there's different sizes. There's like ways to start them. And I realize I may sound like an idiot, but I don't know anything about boat motors. And I bought a boat last year. So,
everybody starts there.
Yeah. No clue whatsoever. And then doing tons of soldering this week. Just crazy trying to get a project done. So lots of fun.
Fantastic. Zeineb, what about you?
Oh, Ramadan began yesterday, and it has been, I have had the most uneventful week. So I feel like I should be helping out Cliff, but I'm not. And everything's absolutely close. So it's me, video games, and just watching movies, catching up.
Because of the holiday.
Yeah. I started earlier than everyone. It happened. Yeah. What about you, Matthew?
Well, I have been having the week of dogs and snakes. And, it's been a doozy. So you probably remember me saying from previous episodes that we found a nest of snakes, little garter snakes. They're harmless. They're very, very small and not poisonous and actually kind of beneficial. But out by the corner of our garage is not where we want them. So I relocated all of them, and I think I got them all. However, I did wind up with a snake in my office. It curled up to sleep in the strangest place. I have a little figurine of a dragon because, I'm a big nerd. And the snake was curled around that dragon, sleeping. I have no idea how it got there because it's on top of a cabinet that's about 3.5 feet tall. It couldn't have dropped from the ceiling. It must have climbed. I have no idea. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. Also a little bit freaky.
I would agree. It is pretty freaky, and it is just the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, maybe we should add that picture to the show notes, I think.
Yeah, I think if you've got the photo, that'd be great to add that in.
Yeah, and then one of my puppies, I've got elderly dachshunds, and one of them is having some back problems, and so we've been kind of in and out of the vet this week trying to get him the help that he needs. So it's just been one of those complicated weeks,
It sounds rough.
It's like complicated. Walk in, get at the office, snake on my dragon.
Yeah.
Snake on my dragon.
Normal kinds of complications that come up.
Yes. It's simple.
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
Cliff, did we get any feedback?
We got a little bit of feedback this week. Nothing that I can throw out here yet. But just to give everybody a heads up, we should have a fun show coming into the works for next week. So it should be really good. If you do have feedback, please let us know at podcast@gearforgesoftware.com, or you can reach us at Gearforge IoT on Twitter. So those are two great spots if you want to give us some feedback.
Fantastic. We'd love to hear from you. And our show is brought to you by Gearforge Software. Gearforge Software is an IoT consultant that works with mid-sized companies that are ready to dip their toes into the connected world. If you don't know where to turn when figuring out your IoT strategy, give Gearforge Software a call and have a discussion. You can learn more at gearforgesoftware.com. And yeah, thanks for sponsoring the show.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I tell you what, these drinks are just great.
Yes.
You didn't get any drinks, Matthew?
I didn't.
Oh, sorry. Golly, I've got to watch. Apparently, you're not in the right spot for the sponsorship.
No, exactly.
Feel sad. I'm like halfway on the other side of the world.
Yes.
So,
but you are closer to Tatooine than I am.
That is so
yes,
true.
I am.
Very cool. So our first news article today is about our favorite, the absolutely famous Amazon IoT
button. Yes. And I'll just caveat right now, whoever pings us first, if you're listening to this podcast, we're not even going to do a contest. I've got a stack of these things in my office I'd like to get rid of. Whoever pings me first, I will send you, if you hit us up on Twitter, so it's at Gearforge IoT. If you hit us up there and just mention the AWS button, it's a second gen, I will ship it to you. So you have to, we'll connect up and I'll get your address and we'll send you an actual button. How's that sound?
I mean, to be fair, I do have the advantage. I could just do it.
Yeah, but yeah. So it's got to be US based. I'm not going to ship it externally.
No.
Sorry. Just the shipping is a bit much unless you want to pay for it.
We're a global podcast, except for the shipping.
Yes.
That's not the shipping.
Yeah, the shipping. So in the news, it's how M3 Health used AWS IoT one-click to improve healthcare delivery. And so what they ended up doing is actually taking a bunch of these iOS buttons and sticking them in the closets for essentially reordering pharmaceutical along with medical type items is what they ended up doing. So what they ended up doing is they built a solution called Ping, and they trademarked it. So you can't take that one. But it all brought everything together for M3 Health to essentially deploy thousands of these buttons to customers and let them just hit a button so that way when they run out of something, so it's in their closet or medicine cabinet or something like that, you can contact their sales rep. So you can get more information or you can get some more stuff ordered. The curiosity I have, and I'm guessing they must have went down the enterprise route for this one, is that in the article it talks about how AWS, and it says AWS IoT Enterprise, these were all provisioned in advance of the factory, and it looked like they leveraged some of the AT&T LTE M buttons. So apparently they must be available. However, one of the big things that we had struggled with is from a provisioning standpoint, that's really the tough part with these buttons. So it sounds like you'd have to almost go through their factory to get this stuff provisioned at scale, Matthew. So that was, and that was the big part. Is if you wanted to order even say 100 of these things, it's going to be really tough to do that.
That was your biggest challenge.
It was
doing the just kind of prototyping with it, right?
Yep, exactly.
It's like, it's fine if you've got one and you're a developer and you got to connect it to your Wi-Fi or whatever it is, but if you had to deploy that on at scale, that was not going to be easy, basically.
No, and it sounds like you have to go through their enterprise program to actually make that happen. So I mean that probably cuts out a lot of small businesses, but if you're a larger company and you want to send it out to thousands, then it sounds like you do have an option, Matthew.
It's still an option. Yeah, I struggle a little bit with these IoT buttons. I mean, I do think they're super cool, and I think there are some pretty interesting uses for them, but they the number of uses, I'm just not so sure about, right?
I agree, and I think Zeineb's going to talk about something that Sigfox came out with that might be a little bit more useful than something like this later on in the show.
Oh, yeah, cool. I think that one's actually up next, isn't it?
And yep, and if you take a look at our show notes, we've got a really fun, of course, the poop button. So show notes, and you get a really fun poop button.
Who doesn't like a button?
Yes. Again, if you would like one of these buttons, the first one that pings me at Gearforge IoT, I will send you an Amazon second generation button, and you can, and it's still in the box, never been opened. You can sit there and play with that. Your heart's content.
Mm-hmm.
It's not been used as a poop button.
It has not been used as
Never.
a poop button that I'm aware of.
At least not yet, but you could definitely customize it.
Yeah, you could, if you want to make it a poop button, go right ahead.
You can do whatever you want.
Yes.
All right, so do we want to talk about the next one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one is about Sigfox's Sens'it discovery to boost growth of connected devices. So Sigfox released the Sens'it, which is kind of like a little, it looks like a kind of a remote controller. And what it is basically just kind of bundles a bunch of sensors for temperature, humidity, magnet detection, vibration, things like that. And it just gives you the kit and you could use it however you want. So they have like a video featuring everything, and some guy uses it to detect when paper is like lacking from a printer.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a very small device, goes everywhere, and it is highly customizable. It even comes with a developer kit if you want that. So it's very useful for smaller businesses that are just kind of dipping their toes in IoT and trying to learn. So it's very user friendly. They want to sell this for 60 euros. I was pretty surprised. Just kind of trying to figure this out in dollars, like a $76 device.
Yeah, I took a look. It doesn't look like you can actually purchase these yet.
Mm-hmm.
There's a link on it. I went ahead and filled in my information because you have to put in your email address and country just so I can see when they're available. So I'd be curious to see. I think they're pretty cool looking. They're making these so you can actually white label these also. So instead of having the Sens'it on the front, you could put your own company's name. This, I think, actually has some additional opportunities from a business standpoint, Matthew and Zeineb, just because there's a lot more sensors in here. It's a small form factor. I think the problem you may find, though, is based off of the map, it has to connect up to a Sigfox network, and Sigfox originates in France. And I think most folks know that I love the connectivity side of things. And it looks like there are quite a few pockets of the United States that if you're not in a city, you may struggle to get potential connectivity with this thing.
But this does connect to over 30 countries because there is a Sigfox network there. Now the issue is for developing countries and things like that, this becomes a very challenging thing to obtain.
Oh, yeah. Well, even in the United States, when I looked at the actual network map, it's not very, unless you're in a major city, you're going to struggle, I think, connecting up to the Sigfox network. So
it's definitely an interesting device. I can't wait
to
find out more about it. And we're kind of hopeful to get an interview with Sigfox, aren't we?
Yeah. They're currently at IoT World this week. So I wasn't able to speak with them. But yeah, that's in the future, near future, I'm looking forward to getting Sigfox on the show, just so we can learn more about Sigfox itself and kind of direction they're planning on going. So I'm really excited, and I really love the Sigfox network, the concept of it here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it would be great to talk to somebody. I mean, I think this is an exciting device, and it'd be nice to talk to somebody about kind of what their plans are for it. So
totally agree.
Very cool. Well, did we want to talk about Google's AI assistant?
They have an AI assistant?
Supposedly they do.
You couldn't tell. I couldn't tell either.
We just learned about this.
When did they get
this
AI?
this was the big hubbub at Google I/O, this last week, right? I mean, Twitter just blew up when they announced this, and they got an awful lot of really kind of negative or mixed press on this one. It's interesting though, because it's a technological miracle. Like, they did a great job. In a nutshell, the demo showed the Google AI Assistant, or Google Assistant, whatever they're calling it, making a call to place an appointment for, what is it, at like a hair salon, right?
Yeah, hair salon.
and it is uncanny. So not only does it carry on a conversation with the receptionist or whoever it is taking the appointments, right? And it does so successfully, but it sounds incredibly human.
It does.
Even down to the point that, there are little like humanisms in the speech, like and pauses, and it just sounds real, to the point where the person on the other end of the line doesn't know they're talking to a robot.
It is crazy.
It is crazy. Like, it's an amazing feat of technology. They did such a great job engineering this thing, but scary, right? And that's pretty much how the internet reacted, is like, okay, that's amazing and also super creepy. And there were an awful lot of posts on, like, what the heck is Google doing? you know what I mean?
There was a lot of posts.
I think it has to do with the fact that, like, the way they demonstrated it just kind of seemed a little, shady, because the person on the other side of the phone didn't know it was an AI, and now they're wondering, well, will we know it's an AI? Is this trying to fool us?
Absolutely. I mean, it's deceptive, right? It is totally deceptive. It's a computer calling a person and pretending to be a person.
Well, and I think the really funny part here is that how many folks now are saying, hey, this is fake. Was it actually real? Because they won't actually say whether it's real or not. I just love the hype that they're getting just from this whole thing. But you're entirely right. When you listen to this thing, you're like, there's no way you'd know.
Yeah, it is. It is crazy. And I mean, I have to assume that they didn't do a demo of a technology product that was fake.
No, I just don't see Google doing that.
No, it's Google. So yeah, but it is. I mean, it is a scary leap forward. And I mean, so we see advances on all of these fronts. And I've actually had, a sort of smaller version of this. But you get those robocalls.
Yep.
And they've started getting really smart about how they do that. It's not intelligent at all, right? It's a recording. But they've made them so that it, because of the way that they put the phrase together and they pause, and it sounds like you're actually talking to a person, not like the traditional robocall where you pretty much know you're not talking to a person. Well, this is really taking this to and that's deceptive. Like, I don't like it, but this is really taking it to the next level. You don't know you're talking to a computer.
No, not at all.
But is this a problem? Or is this just the future and we're not used to it yet?
I think it's the future, Matthew. This is here.
Yeah.
I just don't see this going away.
And then, like, at the same time, a lot of people mentioned that they're worried about this being like some kind of deception, but Google tries to address that and says that it's more for making people comfortable with an AI that's like more human-like and that's more relatable, and making it a more more enjoyable user experience. And they even mentioned they're going to try to make the next experiments as ethical as possible. So I think they realize that people are afraid about this being some kind of, like a big deception game, and they're trying to deal with that.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I mean, I'm a little bit of two minds. I get the idea that generally our goal over the last 30 years has been to make computers feel more human, right? But that's because when, like, I remember the first speech synthesizer stuff, and it sounded like a crazy robot and you could barely understand it. And it's gotten better and better over the years, but basically you still know you're talking to a computer, right? Is it necessary? Like, let me give an example. If you ever watch Star Trek, right? The computer is able to, basically everybody only uses voice commands with the computer on Starship Enterprise, right? It is a very human sounding voice because of course it's Majel Barrett, Gene Roddenberry's wife, right? Who does the voice, but when she speaks, she speaks like a computer. You have accessed the main database. She doesn't talk like a person saying and right? And so the question is, should a computer talk like a person. Like it's not a person. It's not a human being, right? It's an automated voice. It's an automated AI. And do we want to actually be able to differentiate that? And then the same thing for other kinds of robots. Like, is it actually good for us to create robots that are seemingly human? Like they feel human and look human and, you know, like have a human, very realistic voice. Is that actually the goal? Or should robots feel kind of robotic? Not that they're not, you know, they don't speak clearly and all of that, but that you're dealing with a robot here. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think it's not a given that emulating humanity exactly is actually the goal of robotics or artificial intelligence, at least not to me.
That's a strong statement. I don't know, Matthew. There's a lot to that, and I don't think I think the research and I think the ethical ramifications, along with just the everyday scenario, is still out. I don't think we're going to know for some time.
Oh, of course not. I wonder if laws would be passed. Like, you know, you have to identify. Like, if you need to identify that you have cookies on your website.
Well, usually though, in most cases though, laws are usually trailing, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
They don't usually lead because they don't even know what to go say or any of that stuff. So even if there's going to be a law, we're probably still 10, 15 years away from any type of legislation, I bet.
But again, I'm kind of thinking there are some very beneficial uses from something, like from a very human-like AI, and I'm thinking kind of things that have to do with companionship and elderly people and even training pets and things like that. This does have its uses. Now, is it something that you want to be as widespread as Google may want it to be? I don't know. I mean, I understand Matthew's point when he says, do you really want to emulate kind of the human behavior and all that? And I could totally see how that is worrying.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was another aspect to this, wasn't there, Cliff? You'd kind of noticed this in one of the articles about how they made it so good, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. They used anonymized voicemails and essentially messages that people had opted into on their network on the Android, right? And so it was able to use that to learn, along with date stamps, and couple that with kind of their location of where they're at. So it's been using real live data to train from. I mean, that's what's remarkable.
All of this voice data that they've collected through, you know, whatever their privacy policy allows them to do, right? They've just fed into that, you know, that system to train it. And that's also just, I mean, I feel like that we knew they were doing that.
Oh,
I don't
of course.
think that there's no surprise there, but it does feel a little bit like, whoa, yeah.
Not what I expected.
Well, yeah, or maybe it's like, oh yeah, now it's happening, right? But I mean, you'd almost need something like that to perfect a system like this kind of AI. I think
I would think so, to make it really perform correctly.
Yeah, you just need just so much data.
Yep.
So, but I think that's another aspect, and you know, again, might give some people pause. Like, well, you know, I guess we knew they were doing this, but is this direction we want to be going in? Is this what we want our data used for? You know, that sort of thing. So, so it's super interesting. Huge, like, congratulations to the team at Google who put together that demo.
Yeah, it's just remarkable. Just really remarkable,
cool.
The demo.
Really cool, a little scary.
Yes, all of that.
All right. So that kind of wraps up the news for this week.
Yes, it does.
As a reminder, if you do have any feedback, shoot us a message at podcast@gearforgesoftware.com, or you can find us on Twitter @GearforgeIoT. We would love to hear from you. And I think that just about wraps things up. So guys, do you have anything fun planned for the weekend? Cliff, what about you?
It's that yard work time of the season. So boys are coming over this weekend, and we're just have a massive project for Saturday.
Well, that sounds like that will be good outdoor time for you.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
Zeineb, what about you?
I am so free that it is almost boring. I've been creating some free time now, I have too much of it. But there's a punic port nearby, there's a beautiful garden not too far away, and I have a dog, so I'm thinking that's what's gonna happen this week. A
Well, that
lot
sounds.
of bonding time with Brenda.
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh.
It's gonna be fun. The weather is wonderful anyway.
Wow.
Well, what about you, Matthew?
Well, I honestly don't know. I feel like my week has been kind of crazy. I haven't had a chance to really think ahead. So we'll see what this weekend comes up with. So
Oh,
I'm sure
funny.
something. Hopefully, no more snakes.
Yeah,
No more snakes.
definitely. I could just send you pictures of the punic port, and you're just like, yeah, I'm there. I don't need to go there anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or
Maybe
Tatooine.
maybe like a VR, of it.
Yes.
All right,
That would be
folks.
great.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for listening. We hope you'll join us again for next week's show. Next week, we've got a special episode. We're actually going to be talking about the rollout of GDPR. And that will be, kind of a big deal for a lot of folks. And we think it's a topic that will be of interest to our listeners. So until then, so long and be well. Bye,
Take
guys.
care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.